Amanda Clark rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. She had been working at the radio telescope for 12 hours straight, but something was wrong with the data. The numbers on her screen did not match anything she had seen before in her 10 years as a scientist. The coffee in her cup had gone cold hours ago, but Amanda did not notice. She was too busy staring at the strange pattern of signals coming from space. At first, she thought her equipment was broken. Radio telescopes picked up all kinds of noise from space, but this was different. This had a pattern. Amanda called her supervisor, Dr. Kevin Walsh, even though it was 3 in the morning. Kevin worked for NASA and had seen many strange signals. Before, most of them turned out to be nothing special. But when Amanda sent him the data, Kevin became very quiet on the phone. "Are you sure this is real?" Kevin asked. His voice sounded worried. "I checked everything 3 times," Amanda said. "The equipment is working fine. This signal is coming from outside our solar system." Kevin drove to the telescope station as fast as he could. When he saw the data with his own eyes, he knew Amanda was right. The signal was not random noise from space. Someone or something had made this signal on purpose. The 2 scientists worked together to study the signal. It contained numbers that followed mathematical rules. It had prime numbers, which are numbers that can only be divided by themselves and 1. No natural process in space could make such a pattern. Only an intelligent being could create something like this. But as they studied the signal more, Amanda and Kevin found something that made them both afraid. Hidden inside the mathematical patterns were detailed pictures of Earth. The signal showed maps of all the major cities on the planet. It showed where the armies and weapons were located. It even showed how many people lived in each country. "How do they know all this?" Amanda whispered. Kevin did not answer. He was too busy trying to understand what they were looking at. The signal was like a report card about Earth, written by someone who had been watching the planet for a long time. Dr. Lisa Carter arrived the next morning. She was an expert in languages and codes. The government had sent her to help translate the alien message. Lisa had learned dozens of human languages, but this was her first time trying to understand words from another world. It took Lisa 3 days to break the code. The aliens used mathematical concepts to represent ideas. Once she understood the basic rules, the message became clear. When Lisa read the translation out loud, everyone in the room became very quiet. "Your world has been selected for integration. Resistance will result in elimination. Prepare for harvesting operations. You have 30 rotations of your primary star to surrender unconditionally." Amanda felt sick to her stomach. Integration and harvesting did not sound like friendly words. The aliens were not trying to make friends with Earth. They wanted to take over the planet. "How long is 30 rotations of our primary star?" Kevin asked. 30 days, Lisa said quietly. "They are giving us 30 days to surrender." The message was sent to the President of the United States within 1 hour. President Helen Morrison read the translation in the Oval Office, surrounded by her top advisors and military leaders. The room was so quiet that everyone could hear the clock ticking on the wall. "Is this real?" the president asked. General Jake Patterson, the head of the Space Force, nodded. "We have confirmed the signal came from outside our solar system. 3 other countries have detected the same message. This is not a joke or a mistake." President Morrison looked at the translation again. The aliens called themselves the Zenthari Collective. They wrote about Earth like it was just another piece of property to be claimed. Humans were not mentioned as intelligent beings. The message talked about Earth's population the same way someone might count cows in a field. "What do we know about these Zenthari?" the president asked. Dr. Lisa Carter opened her laptop. "We found more information hidden in their signal. They claimed to have conquered 47 other worlds. Each time they sent the same message. Each time the planet surrendered. Within the 30-day limit, what happened to those planets?" President Morrison asked. Lisa looked uncomfortable. "According to their records, they kept small numbers of the native species as slaves. The rest were eliminated. They strip each planet of all useful resources, then move on to the next target. Admiral Patterson studied a map on the wall. How long before their ships arrive? The signal took 4 years to reach us, Amanda said. But they also sent star charts showing their travel route. Based on their technology, we estimate their invasion fleet will arrive in exactly 30 days. President Morrison stood up and walked to the window. She could see normal people going about their daily lives outside. None of them knew that aliens were coming to destroy their world in 1 month. Have they sent any other messages? She asked. Kevin shook his head. Nothing since the first signal. I think they expect us to respond with our surrender. The president turned around to face the room. What are our options? General Patterson was honest. Based on their technology, we cannot win a direct fight. Their ships are bigger and more advanced than anything we have, but maybe we can make them pay a heavy price for taking our world. President Morrison made her decision. We will not surrender. Alert all military forces. Contact every world leader. If these aliens want Earth, they will have to fight for it. Dr. Amanda Clark watched the president on television that night as she announced the alien threat to the world. Amanda had started this whole situation by discovering the signal. Now she wondered if she had doomed the human race by finding something. That would have been better left hidden, but as she listened to the president's speech, Amanda felt something she had not expected. She felt proud. The aliens had conquered 47 other worlds because those species had given up without a fight. Humans were different. Even against impossible odds, they would not kneel. The signal had reached Earth, and humanity was responding with fire. The world changed in 3 days. President Morrison stood before the United Nations and told every leader on Earth about the alien threat. Countries that had been enemies for years suddenly became allies. Russia, China, America, and every other nation agreed to work together against the Centauri. Dr. Sam Rodriguez had worked on secret military projects his whole career, but nothing like this. The government gave him unlimited money and told him to turn every weapon on Earth into something that could hurt alien ships. Sam's team worked day and night in laboratories across the country. We need bigger guns, Sam told his engineers. Much bigger guns. The old nuclear missiles were taken apart and rebuilt. Sam's team made them faster and more powerful. Every satellite in space was given new weapons. Even the International Space Station was turned into a fortress with railguns and missile launchers. Admiral Jake Patterson became the leader of all Earth's military forces. He had soldiers from every country working together. American pilots flew with Russian engineers. Chinese scientists worked with British commanders. Everyone had the same goal: make the aliens pay for attacking Earth. Captain Julie Hayes was chosen to command the first real warship humans had ever built. The ship was called Freedom's Edge, and it was built from pieces of old space stations and new military technology. Julie's crew came from 20 different countries, but they all spoke the same language now: survival. I will not lie to you, Julie told her crew of 300 people. We are probably going to die up there. These aliens have better ships and better weapons, but we are not fighting to win. We are fighting to show them that humans do not give up. While the military prepared for war, civilians around the world were moved to safety. Billions of people left the big cities and went underground. They hid in subway tunnels, old mines, and mountain caves. Dr. Nicole Foster led teams that stored human knowledge in hidden computers, hoping that something would survive even if humanity did not. The work never stopped. Factories that used to make cars now made missiles. Computer companies built targeting systems for weapons. Even farmers helped by growing food for the underground shelters. Everyone on Earth was part of the war effort. After 1 week, the Centauri sent another message. This time they sounded annoyed. They could not understand why humans were building weapons instead of surrendering. The message said that fighting was pointless because the Centauri had conquered 47 other worlds easily. Your species shows signs of mental deficiency, the alien message said. We have observed your military preparations. These efforts are meaningless against our technology. We offer you one final opportunity to surrender with minimal casualties. The alien message included stories about the other worlds they had conquered. Every species had surrendered after seeing the size of the Xanthari fleet. Some planets gave up without any fighting at all. Others fought for a few days before their leaders begged for mercy. The Xanthari seemed proud of how quickly they could break the spirit of other races. President Morrison read the alien message to her war council. General Patterson looked at the translation and shook his head. "They really do not understand us," he said. "They think we are fighting because we believe we can win. They do not realize we are fighting because it is what humans do." Dr. Amanda Clark had become an advisor to the government. She helped plan how to communicate with the aliens. The Xanthari kept sending messages that offered better surrender terms. They said they would let 20% of humans live instead of 10%. Then they offered 30%. They are getting nervous. Amanda told the president, "No other species has ever ignored their ultimatums for this long. They do not know how to deal with us." As the days passed, more alien messages arrived. The Xanthari described their technology and their weapons. They wanted humans to understand how hopeless fighting would be. They sent pictures of their massive ships and their powerful guns. They thought fear would make humans surrender. Instead, the pictures helped Dr. Sam Rodriguez design better weapons. Every image the aliens sent was studied by human engineers. They found weak spots in the alien ship designs. They learned how the alien weapons worked. The Xanthari were accidentally helping their enemies prepare for battle. On day 20, the aliens sent their final offer. They promised to keep half of humanity alive if Earth surrendered immediately. The message was delivered personally by their fleet commander, who called himself Overlord Dex. "You have impressed us with your stubbornness," Overlord Dex said in his message. "But stubbornness without wisdom leads only to extinction. Accept our generous offer. Your species can survive as our servants. This is better than dying as our enemies." President Morrison gathered her advisors to plan humanity's response. They would broadcast it on every radio frequency and beam it directly toward the approaching alien fleet. The message needed to be clear and strong. Dr. Lisa Carter helped write the response. It was short and simple, but it contained everything the aliens needed to know about humanity. "To the Xanthari Collective," the message began. "We are the human race. We have received your ultimatums and your offers. Our answer is the same now as it was 20 days ago. We do not surrender, we do not kneel. We do not beg for mercy from those who would enslave us." The message continued, "You say you have conquered 47 worlds. You are proud of how easily other species gave up their freedom. You think this makes you strong? You are wrong. It makes you weak. You have never fought an enemy that refuses to quit." President Morrison herself recorded the final part of the message. "You want our world? Come and take it. But know this, every inch of ground will cost you blood. Every city will cost you ships. Every human life you take will be paid for with the lives of your own people. We are not like the others you have conquered. We are humanity. And humanity burns bright before it dies." The message was sent toward the alien fleet at the speed of light. Within hours, radio telescopes around the world detected the alien response. It was just 2 words repeated over and over: impossible, impossible, impossible. Dr. Amanda Clark smiled as she read the alien transmission. For the first time since she had discovered their signal, the Xanthari sounded afraid. They had never encountered a species that promised to fight to the end. They did not know how to respond to enemies who chose death over slavery. 10 days remained until the alien fleet arrived at Earth. 10 days to prepare for a war that humanity could not win but refused to lose. The Xanthari fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like 12 dark stars. Admiral Patterson watched them through his telescope from the orbital defense platform called Defiance. Each alien ship was as big as a city, covered in strange blue lights and surrounded by shimmering energy shields. "How many ships do we have ready?" Patterson asked his aide. 42 combat vessels, sir, plus about 200 converted civilian ships with weapons." Patterson nodded grimly. The humans had less than 1/10 the firepower of the alien fleet, but every ship was crewed by volunteers who knew they were flying to their deaths. No one had been forced to fight. Everyone had chosen to be there. The alien ships moved slowly through space toward Earth. They did not hurry because they did not think humans could hurt them. Overlord Dex, the Xanthari commander, sent one more message to Earth as his fleet passed Mars. Your 30 days are over. We see your small ships waiting for us. This display of defiance has lasted long enough. Stand down your forces and prepare for integration. You cannot win this fight. President Morrison was watching from the underground command center in Colorado. She wore a military uniform now because Earth was officially at war. Around her, screens showed the alien fleet getting closer and closer to the home planet. Send our response, she told the communications officer. The message was simple. Come and take it. Captain Bobby Lane commanded a destroyer called New Horizon. His ship was one of the fastest in the human fleet, but it looked like a toy compared to the alien vessels. Bobby had been a Navy pilot for 15 years, but this was his first time fighting enemies from another world. All ships, this is Admiral Patterson, the radio crackled. Remember, we are not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We just need to prove that humans can hurt them. Every hit counts. Every shot matters. Make them remember this day. The first battle happened near Mars. Captain Lane led 20 human ships in an attack on the alien escort vessels. The Xanthari seemed surprised that humans would attack first instead of waiting to be destroyed. The alien weapons were terrifying. Beams of pure energy cut through space and turned human ships into clouds of metal and fire. The Xanthari shields deflected most human weapons like they were toys. Within 10 minutes, 18 human ships had been destroyed, but Captain Lane's ship was still fighting. His crew had loaded the New Horizon with every explosive they could find. Instead of trying to fight the aliens with guns, Bobby decided to ram his ship directly into their hull. This is for Earth, Bobby said into his radio as his ship accelerated toward the alien vessel. The New Horizon crashed into the Xanthari escort ship and exploded in a nuclear fireball. For the first time in their history of conquest, the Xanthari took damage from an enemy attack. The explosion overloaded their shields and cracked their hull armor on the alien flagship. Overlord Dex stared at his damage reports in confusion. No species had ever managed to harm a Xanthari ship before. The other races they conquered always tried to run away or surrender when they saw how powerful the aliens were. Repair the damage to Escort Vessel 7, Dex ordered his crew, and scan the human fleet for more ships carrying explosive devices, but the Xanthari could not scan for human intentions. They could detect weapons and engines, but they could not detect the determination that made ordinary people into heroes. Every human ship was potentially a weapon if its crew decided to sacrifice themselves. Dr. Amanda Clark watched the battle from Earth through radio telescopes. The human fleet was being destroyed, but they were also accomplishing something important. They were proving that the Xanthari could be hurt. Look at this, Amanda told her assistant. The alien communications are changing. They are talking to each other more than usual. They sound worried. Amanda was right. The Xanthari had never needed to coordinate their attacks before because their enemies always ran away quickly. Now they were discussing tactics and sharing information about human weapons. They were learning to be afraid. General Patricia Stone commanded the ground forces that would defend Earth when the aliens landed. She had soldiers from every country hiding in the mountains, forests, and cities. Each unit had enough supplies to fight for months, even if they were cut off from the main army. Remember, Patricia told her officers, we are not trying to stop the invasion. We are trying to make the invasion so expensive that they regret starting it. Every alien soldier they lose makes them weaker. Every day we delay them is a victory. The space battle continued for 6 hours. The human fleet fought with desperate courage, but they were outgunned and outnumbered. Ship after ship was destroyed by alien weapons. Captain Julie Hayes and her crew on Freedom's Edge managed to damage 2 more alien vessels before their ship was cut in half by an energy beam. When the battle ended, only 3 human ships remained. The Xanthari fleet had lost 1 escort vessel completely and had serious damage to 4 others. In their previous conquests, the aliens had never lost a single ship. Overlord Thex sent a message to his homeworld after the battle. His report was very different from his earlier confident predictions. Earth integration proceeding slower than expected, he wrote. Human forces demonstrate unusual combat behavior. They continue fighting even when victory is impossible. They appear to prefer death to surrender. Casualties among our forces are higher than anticipated. The message worried the Xanthari leadership. They had conquered 47 worlds without losing a single ship. Now humans had destroyed one of their vessels and damaged several others in just one battle. If this pattern continued, conquering Earth might cost them dozens of ships and thousands of soldiers. On Earth, the surviving human forces prepared for the next phase of the war. The aliens would land on the planet soon, and then the real fighting would begin. But humanity had already won something important. They had shown the galaxy that some species cannot be broken, no matter how powerful their enemies might be. Admiral Patterson looked at the wreckage of his fleet on his radar screen. Most of his ships were gone, but their sacrifice had meaning. The Xanthari were no longer acting like conquerors dealing with primitives. They were acting like soldiers fighting a real war. The message was clear. Across space, humanity would not go quietly into the night. The Xanthari invasion of Earth began at dawn. Their landing ships descended from the sky like falling meteors, carrying thousands of alien soldiers to the surface. Overlord Thex expected to see panicked humans running in terror from their cities. Instead, he found empty streets and an eerie silence. The first Xanthari soldiers landed in New York City. They marched through Times Square with their advanced weapons ready, but there were no civilians to capture. The humans had vanished underground like ghosts. Then the shooting started from the rooftops. Captain Marcus Bell commanded the defense of Manhattan from a hidden bunker beneath the subway system. His soldiers knew every tunnel, every building, and every hiding place in the city. They had spent weeks preparing traps and ambush points. When the aliens came looking for an easy conquest, they found a deadly maze instead. Wait until they get close, Marcus told his radio operator. Let them think the buildings are empty. The Xanthari soldiers were bigger and stronger than humans, with armor that could stop bullets. But their armor could not stop a building from falling on them. Human engineers had spent days weakening the supports of skyscrapers, turning them into giant traps. When the aliens gathered in the streets below, explosives brought entire buildings crashing down. One Xanthari squad was crushed when the Empire State Building collapsed on top of them. Another unit was buried under the rubble of a shopping mall that had been rigged with bombs. The aliens had expected to fight soldiers with guns, not an entire city that had been turned into a weapon. In London, similar scenes played out. British forces under Colonel Jane Mitchell used the old World War II tunnels to move unseen beneath the city. They would appear from manholes to attack alien patrols, then disappear back underground before the enemy could respond. The humans fight like ghosts, one Xanthari soldier reported to his commander. They are everywhere and nowhere. We kill them, but more appear from the shadows. Dr. Ellen Martinez worked in a secret laboratory hidden deep under the Rocky Mountains. Her team had been studying pieces of destroyed Xanthari ships for weeks, trying to find weaknesses in alien technology. Ellen had discovered something important about their power systems. Their energy shields pulse at a specific frequency, Ellen explained to her assistant. If we can match that frequency and amplify it, we might be able to overload their systems. Ellen's team began building special electromagnetic pulse bombs designed specifically to disrupt Xanthari technology. The bombs were not powerful enough to destroy alien ships, but they could shut down their shields and weapons for short periods of time. In space, Admiral Patterson launched Operation Swarm. He had gathered every remaining human spacecraft, including cargo ships, mining vessels, and even luxury yachts. Each ship carried a small crew of volunteers and as many explosives as they could fit. We cannot win a fair fight, Patterson told his pilots. So we will not fight fair. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and make every shot count. Thousands of small human ships swarmed the Xanthari fleet like angry bees attacking a bear. Most were destroyed within minutes, but some got through the alien defenses. A converted garbage truck rammed into the side of a Xanthari cruiser. A mining ship used its drilling equipment to bore holes in an alien hull. A passenger liner loaded with nuclear warheads exploded against the flagship's communication array. The damage was small compared to the size of the alien fleet, but it was damage. Nonetheless, for the second time in their history, the Xanthari were losing ships to an enemy they had expected to crush easily. On the ground, the war became more brutal every day. The aliens controlled most of the major cities, but they could not control the people. Human resistance fighters emerged from sewers and basements to attack alien supply lines. Ordinary citizens became guerrilla warriors. A group of teenagers in Chicago used homemade bombs to destroy an alien ammunition depot. An elderly man in Berlin drove a truck full of explosives into a Xanthari command post. Children too young to carry guns served as messengers and scouts for the resistance fighters. The Xanthari soldiers began to show signs of stress. They had been trained to fight enemy armies, not to deal with an entire population that refused to submit. Every human they met was potentially an enemy. Every building could be a trap. Every street corner might hide an ambush. The humans do not follow the rules of war, complained a Xanthari officer to Overlord Dex. They use children as weapons. They turn their own cities into battlefields. This is not how conquered species are supposed to behave. Overlord Dex studied reports from the ground invasion. His forces controlled the territory they had landed on, but they were taking constant casualties. Supply convoys were attacked daily. Communication centers were bombed weekly. Soldiers requested transfers to other worlds where the fighting was easier. The worst part for the Xanthari was the complete lack of surrender from humans. In their previous conquests, local leaders would eventually negotiate for peace when casualties became too high. Human leaders never even tried to make deals. They seemed to prefer death to compromise. Dr. Amanda Clark intercepted alien communications from her hidden monitoring station. The Xanthari were sending increasingly worried messages to their home world. They had expected to conquer Earth in a few weeks. Instead, they had been fighting for months with no end in sight. Listen to this, Amanda told General Patterson. The aliens are asking for reinforcements. They want more ships and more soldiers. They never needed help before. The intercepted messages revealed something else important. Other species in the Xanthari Empire were asking questions about the Earth invasion. Why was it taking so long? Why were the casualties so high? Some subject worlds were beginning to wonder if the Xanthari were as powerful as they claimed. Captain Marcus Bell fought in the ruins of New York City. His original force of 5,000 soldiers had been reduced to 300, but they were still fighting. The aliens controlled the surface, but humans owned the underground. Every day brought new attacks, new ambushes, and new proof that Earth would never surrender. We may be losing the war, Marcus told his radio operator, but we are winning something. Else, we are showing the galaxy that humans do not kneel. Even if we all die here, other worlds will remember what we did. The war had changed both sides. The Xanthari had become cautious and paranoid, always expecting attacks. The humans had become something harder and more dangerous than they had ever been before. They were no longer fighting to win. They were fighting to teach their enemies that some things cost too much to take. 1 year after the invasion began, the Xanthari controlled half of Earth's surface, but they had paid a terrible price. 8 of their mighty ships floated dead in space. Thousands of their soldiers would never return home. The conquest that should have taken weeks had stretched into months of brutal fighting. Overlord Dex sat in his damaged command center, reading reports that made him feel sick. His empire had never lost so many ships or soldiers in a single campaign. Other conquered worlds were sending messages asking why the Earth integration was taking so long. Some planets were even asking if they could rebel against Xanthari rule, President Morrison operated from a hidden bunker in the Montana mountains. Most of Earth cities lay in ruins, but humanity was still fighting. The survivors had learned to live underground and strike from the shadows. They had become something the Xanthari had never encountered before, a species that got stronger as it suffered. Dr. Ellen Martinez made the breakthrough that would change everything. Her team had finally perfected the electromagnetic pulse, weapons that could disrupt Xanthari technology. The bombs were not large, but they did not need to be large. They just needed to get close enough to the alien ships. The pulse will shut down their main reactor for about 10 minutes, Ellen explained to Admiral Patterson. Their shields will fail and their weapons will stop working. But someone has to deliver the bombs by hand. Admiral Patterson looked at the technical drawings. The mission was suicide. A human ship would have to get past all the alien defenses and place the bomb directly against the enemy flagship. The crew would die in the explosion, but they might take the alien command ship with them. Captain Julie Hayes volunteered immediately. Her ship Freedom's Edge had been rebuilt 3 times after being damaged in battle. Her crew had been fighting for so long that they no longer remembered what peace felt like. They all knew this might be their last mission. "We have been dying slowly for months," Julie told her crew. "At least this time our deaths will mean something." The final human assault began at midnight. Every surviving ship on Earth launched. Simultaneously, old cargo vessels, converted passenger planes, and hastily built fighters all flew toward the alien fleet. Most carried only enough fuel for a one-way trip. The Xanthari were ready for another swarm attack. Their weapons destroyed hundreds of human ships in the first few minutes. But the attack was different this time. Hidden among the obvious targets were 3 small ships carrying Dr. Martinez's special bombs. Captain Julie Hayes piloted one of those ships. She watched her friends die around her as alien weapons tore through the human fleet. But she kept flying toward the massive flagship where Overlord Dex commanded the invasion. Her ship shook from explosions, but her determination never wavered. "This is for every human who died defending our world," Julie said into her radio as she approached the alien ship. The electromagnetic pulse bomb detonated against the flagship's hull with the force of a small star. The explosion cascaded through the Xanthari's linked computer systems like lightning through water. Not only did the flagship lose power, but 3 other ships connected to its network also went dark. For the first time since the invasion began, Xanthari ships floated helplessly in space with no shields and no weapons. Human forces still in. The area launched everything they had at the defenseless targets. Nuclear missiles, railgun projectiles, and even rocks thrown by magnetic launchers smashed into alien hulls. When the attack ended, the flagship was a burning wreck drifting toward Earth's atmosphere. 3 other major ships had been destroyed or crippled beyond repair. The remaining Xanthari vessels moved away from Earth's orbital defenses, no longer confident in their technological superiority. Overlord Dex survived the destruction of his flagship, but barely. He was rescued by a smaller ship and taken to one of the surviving vessels. As he looked back at the wreckage of his fleet, he realized that everything had changed. The humans had not just damaged his ships, they had destroyed the myth of Xanthari invincibility. The alien commander sent his final report to the Xanthari homeworld. His words would be remembered throughout their empire for generations to come. "Earth integration has failed," Dex wrote. "Human resistance exceeded all parameters. Casualties among our forces are unacceptable. Recommend immediate withdrawal and planetary quarantine. This species cannot be conquered through conventional means." Dex paused before writing the most difficult part of his report. The humans do not fight to win. They fight to ensure that victory costs more than any prize is worth. They have taught us that some species would rather die free than live as slaves. I recommend that Earth be avoided by all future expeditions. 3 days later, the surviving Xanthari ships left Earth's solar system. They did not send a goodbye message or make threats about returning. They simply vanished into space, carrying news of their defeat to every corner of their empire. Admiral Patterson stood among the ruins of human civilization and watched the alien ships disappear. Earth had won, but it was a victory that tasted like ash. Billions of humans were dead. Most cities were destroyed. It would take generations to rebuild what had been lost, but something more important than buildings had survived. The human spirit had proven unbreakable. News of Earth's resistance spread throughout the galaxy faster than any spaceship could travel. For the first time, conquered species learned that their oppressors could be defeated, 5 years after the invasion ended. Representatives from dozens of worlds arrived at Earth. They came not as conquerors or merchants, but as equals seeking to form an alliance. The galaxy had learned the lesson that the Xanthari taught through their defeat. Never underestimate a species that responds to ultimatums with fire. Dr. Amanda Clark, now an old woman, sat in her rebuilt observatory and watched the alien diplomatic ships arrive. She remembered the day she first detected the Xanthari signal and wondered if she should have kept it secret. Now she knew the answer. The signal had reached Earth at exactly the right time. Humanity had been ready to show the universe what they were made of. They had responded to the alien threat not with surrender or negotiation, but with the one thing that defined their species above all others: the absolute refusal to kneel before anyone. The war was over, but its lesson would echo through space forever. There were some things more precious than life, and humanity was willing to die to protect them. In teaching that lesson to the galaxy, humans had earned something their enemies could never take away: the respect of every free species among the stars.